All right, what's happening out there, my mathletes? This is Mr. Muscarella coming at you. And in this short video, we're just going to introduce you to drawing and sketching angles and determining the quadrants that they lie in. So here we go. We've got to get some directional awareness around. So positive angles, they're going to move in a counterclockwise direction, and negative angles are going to move in a clockwise direction. And when you draw angles, you're going to need three things. You're going to need an initial side ray, a terminal side ray, and arrows. Now let's kind of think about this a little bit from a generic standpoint here. Now if we were to put some numbers around here, we know 90 is going to be right there, 180 is going to be here, 270 is going to be here, and then both 0 and 360 are going to be on that same line. So the initial side ray, that's going to be the ray, and all your rays are always going to start at the origin. And the initial side is going to be that ray right there, which is on the x-axis, extending out towards 0 and 360. The terminal side ray is just going to kind of depend where the angle stops. So say I would move around and do this angle, and I end up stopping right here. So again, I'm going to put an arrow on the end of that terminal side where the angle stops. And I'm going to take a ray from the origin. I'm going to extend that out and past wherever that angle ended up. So there's your initial side and your terminal side. And the arrows that we're talking about, there would be these three little guys right here. So I'm going to change colors on there. So that angle, or arrowhead, that arrowhead, and that arrowhead. So the arrowhead on the end of the initial ray, the terminal side ray, and then where the angle stops. So you need all three of those pieces. All right. Now, before we move into our next spot, let's just kind of think about this for a second. Positive rays are going to move in a positive angles are going to move in a counterclockwise direction. So one of the things I want you to get in the habit of is writing 0 there, 90 there, 180 there, 270 right here, and then 360. Now, as you go around and around and you move beyond 360, there's going to be a certain value that is going to be associated between the difference of our numbers here. So our next number, right where 90 is going to be 450. I'm thinking ahead here. So that other number is going to be 450. 540 is going to be also at the same spot as 180. They're called coterminal angles. We'll talk about that more later. And then where 270 is, that is also 630 degrees. And then 0, 360, and 720, they're all coterminal degrees, or coterminal angles, because they are on the same location. They're at the same spot. And we can keep going round. But now, if you do notice how many degrees separate the two angles that are on the quadrantal side. So think about that for a second. Now, your negative angles, they are just going to go in the opposite direction. So be careful here. So you're still going to start out with 0, but when you list the next angle, make sure you stick a negative sign with it. That's negative 90. Then you'll have negative 180, negative 270, and negative 360. Down here is negative 450, and negative 540, negative, it's just going to keep going around. Negative 630, and then negative 720. So it goes on and on and on and around. But positive angles are going to move around in this way. Okay, because that's what counterclockwise direction looks like. Negative angles are going to start on the x-axis also, but they're going to move kind of underneath and around. So those are the two directions that you need to be familiar with when you go to draw your angles. All right, now let's come on back in a moment, and we'll watch examples 1 and 2 together, and I'll see you in a moment. So go ahead, pause the video, write down any notes that you need to add, and then I'll see you again in a moment.